Okay, let's get into it. Today, we are strapping into a vehicle that's, well, it's not just entering the market, it's actively calling itself the competitor shock.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into the Changan CS35 Plus 2026.
That nickname is just so bold. Competitor shock. It tells you right away they are not playing around. They're aiming to disrupt things.
They really are.
And we've got a ton of source material here. Specs, pricing, and, maybe most importantly, the hidden compromises that make a car like this possible.
That's the core mission today, right? To figure out if the CS35 Plus really delivers the best value for money for, say, a family or an urban commuter.
Exactly. Does it have that perfect mix of modern design, new tech, and, performance that doesn't break the bank?
Well, let's start right there with the heart of the beast, because this is where that disruption really begins.
It is, and what's so fascinating is where Changan put their money. They didn't just grab some off-the-shelf economy engine, which you'd totally expect at this price.
Right.
No, the CS35 Plus uses a 1.4-liter blue-core turbo GDI four-cylinder.
Okay, that's a lot of acronyms. GDI gasoline, direct injection. For anyone who isn't a mechanic, that means fuel goes straight into the combustion chamber. Why is that specific tech so important for a value car?
Well, it's all about control, finer control over combustion. And that gives you two huge benefits: much better efficiency and a higher power output for the engine size.
And the numbers really back that up.
Oh, they are genuinely shocking for a 1.4-liter in this class. We're talking 158 horsepower and a really strong 260 newton meters of torque.
So to put that in perspective for you, a lot of his rivals from Japan or Korea in this same price range are still using bigger engines, 1.6, even 2.0 liters, that barely make 130 horsepower.
And with way less torque.
Exactly. So to get 158 horsepower from just 1.4 liters, I mean, that tells you they really prioritize the engine.
And you can feel it on the road. The sources we have clocked it doing 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 9.5 seconds.
Which isn't a sports car, obviously.
No, but it means you have plenty of power to merge onto a highway. You're not going to feel sluggish. It just completely avoids that old economy car stereotype.
So how is all that power managed? It's connected to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, a DCT.
Right, and that's another choice that's a bit surprising. A lot of competitors would just use a simpler CVT or a traditional automatic.
So why a DCT?
It does two things really well. It gives you those quick, crisp shifts when you're accelerating, but more importantly, it's just really efficient. It keeps the turbo engine right in its sweet spot to save fuel.
And the fuel economy is where this thing really makes its case as an economic choice.
It really does. The data shows it gets around 17.3 kilometers per liter.
That's a fantastic number for a small SUV. For a family doing daily runs, that's real savings, week after week.
We should probably mention, this car didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Good point.
The original CS35 came out back in 2012. This one we're talking about is the second generation, from 2018. The thing is, Changan has sold over 1 million of these in China.
1 million units. That's a huge number.
It is, and that volume gives them massive economies of scale. It's how they can afford to pack in all the features we're about to get into.
All right, so let's move inside the car. The whole point of the interior design seems to be making it feel more expensive than it actually is.
It does, and the tech is the first thing that really jumps out at you and kind of backs up that competitor shock name.
The huge screen.
The huge screen. It's a 10.25-inch central infotainment screen that dominates the dashboard. I mean, just a few years ago, a screen that big was for premium German cars.
It's incredible how fast that tech has become democratized. But a big screen is useless if it doesn't connect to your phone.
That's the deal breaker for modern drivers, isn't it? But yeah, it delivers. It supports both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can just plug your phone in and go. No learning some clunky manufacturer system.
And if you go for the higher trims, you start getting some genuinely premium features.
Like the 7-inch digital driver display, which replaces the old analog dials. And of course, the big one everyone wants.
The panoramic sunroof.
The panoramic sunroof. It just makes a small car feel so much bigger and more open inside.
Now, what about the materials? The seats and everything.
Here's where they play it smart. The seats themselves are supportive. You can get them in fabric or a faux leather. But the source materials specifically mention that the top-tier limited trim uses what they call Napa grain leather.
Napa grain. That's a very careful choice of words.
It is.
It's meant to sound like expensive Napa leather, even if it's not. Is that Does that actually work?
I think it's a successful psychological tactic. It shows they understand what buyers want. They use a couple of high-impact things you can see and touch, the big screen, the fancy-sounding leather, to make you feel like you're in a much more expensive car.
Okay, so let's talk utility. Space. This is a crossover for families after all.
The space is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The standard cargo capacity is about 403 liters, which is competitive.
Enough for groceries, a stroller, that kind of thing.
For all your daily needs, absolutely. But the real key is the flexibility.
Right, for those weekend trips or a run to the hardware store.
Exactly. The rear seats fold down in a 40.60 split. And when they're down, the space opens up to almost 950 liters. That is a ton of utility for a family that might only need that massive space once in a while, but when they need it, they really need it. You know, when we talk about value, we have to talk about safety, and this is where Changan really went all in, especially on the higher trims.
They loaded them with ADS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems.
Yeah, and these are systems that were basically unheard of at this price point until, like, last year.
So beyond the mandatory stuff like ESP and ABS, what active safety features are we talking about?
The big ones are adaptive cruise control, or ACC, with stop and go, forward collision warning, and automatic emergency braking, AB.
Hang on, ACC with stop and go. So the car will basically drive itself in heavy traffic. It'll slow down, stop, and start up again.
That's exactly what it does. It's a huge feature for reducing driver fatigue on a congested commute. Just transformative, and AEB is, you know, the ultimate backup.
And for parking.
A 360-degree camera system. It pretty much eliminates blind spots when you're trying to squeeze into a tight spot. And passive safety is good too, at least on the top trim.
The limited trim.
Right, that one gets 6 airbags for protection from all angles.
This level of safety tech really forces you to think hard about the different trim levels.
It does. There are 3 main choices. You start with the base model, the trend.
And that's your core value proposition. You get the turbo engine and that big screen.
It's the essentials. Then you have the smart trim, which our sources say is the most popular one.
The sweet spot.
It's the smart buy, yeah. It adds crucial things like that 360-degree camera without making you pay for all the luxury extras.
Yeah.
It's the best bang for your buck.
And then there's the limited, the top tier. This is one that really lives up to the competitor shock name.
That's the one with everything. The 6 airbags, the full ADS suite with ACC, the panoramic roof, the Napa green leather. It's their attempt at a full premium experience on a budget.
We have to mention the pricing, because it's the foundation of this whole argument. The figures we have are in Saudi riyals.
Right. The trend starts at about 66,700 SAR.
And the fully loaded limited tops out around 82,225 SAR.
And just to give that some global context, that's roughly what a starting price around 17,800 US dollars, up to about 22,000 for the top model.
To get adaptive cruise control and 6 airbags for $22,000 it's just wild. You don't see that from the big Japanese or European brands.
Not at all. And Changan backs it all up with a really strong warranty, 5 years or 150,000 kilometers.
Which you need. That's a good confidence booster when you're dealing with newer tech like a turbo GDI and a DCT.
So, we've painted a very rosy picture so far. But, you know, no car offers this much stuff for this little money without some compromises.
Here comes the reality check.
Here it comes. And our source material rated the CS35 Plus an 8.5 out of 10 in its category, which is very high. But that missing 1.5 points, that's where trade-offs are.
So we know the good stuff. Value, performance, tech. Let's dig into the drawbacks. The areas where they clearly save some money.
Okay. Number 1 is noise isolation. This is a classic cost-cutting move. At highway speeds, wind and road noise really start to creep into the cabin.
And that gets tiring on a long trip.
It really does. It completely changes the character of the car from a comfortable commuter to something a bit draining on a long journey.
What's the second big compromise?
The suspension, specifically the rear suspension. It uses something called a torsion beam, and the sources all said the ride can feel a little harsh. Or dry was the word they used.
Let's break that down. A torsion beam is basically one solid bar connecting the 2 rear wheels.
Yeah.
It's cheap and simple.
Much cheaper than a fully independent setup that you'd find on a more expensive car.
And the comfort trade-off is?
Refinement. When one wheel hits a bump, some of that shock travels across the beam to the other wheel. It just means you feel more of the road, especially if you're sitting in the back.
Okay, now let's go back to the powertrain. That 7-speed DCT is great for performance, but There's always a question mark that hangs over DCTs.
You're talking about long-term reliability.
Exactly.
And that's a fair point. The main concern highlighted was how this particular DCT handles really heavy stop-and-go city traffic over many years.
But I have to ask, are the sources pointing to actual documented failures with this specific Changan DCT? Or is this just a general fear of the technology based on some bad examples from other companies in the past?
That is the key question. And it seems to be more of a lingering question mark than a known widespread defect. It's a calculated risk you take with the technology.
And that 5-year warranty is probably Changan's answer to that question.
It is. It's them saying, look, we're confident enough to back this thing, but yeah, that potential for wear in dense traffic is something a buyer has to think about.
Okay, one last thing. The interior plastics.
Right. In the lower trims, the trend in the Smart, while the design is modern, you'll definitely notice a lot of hard plastics on the doors and the lower dashboard. It just doesn't feel as premium to the touch as some of its Korean rivals.
Okay, so we've established the CS35 Plus is a high-value contender, but it comes with known comfort trade-offs. How does it actually stack up against its main rivals?
Well, it positions itself as the king of tech and features. But every competitor has a different focus, so you, the buyer, have to decide which compromise you're willing to live with.
Let's start with its biggest Chinese rival.
That would be the Geely Coolray. And Geely is targeting a different kind of buyer. The Coolray is all about sporty design and, honestly, probably the most powerful engine performance in the whole segment.
So if you want a more exciting drive, you look at the Coolray.
Exactly. Then you have the established players, the ones who win on brand reputation.
The Hyundai Creta.
The Hyundai Creta is the benchmark for reliability. It's the safe choice. People buy it because they trust the brand, and no parts will be easy to find anywhere. If your number one priority is predictable, long-term dependability, the Creta is still the standard.
What about the urban specialist, the Nissan Kicks?
The Nissan Kicks has carved out its own niche, which is pure city fuel efficiency. It uses a CVT to get fantastic mileage, and it has this youthful, distinct design. If you spend all your time in traffic, the Kicks makes a very strong case.
And finally, the other Chinese brand that competes purely on price.
The MG ZS. The MG's strategy is to be the absolute cheapest option while still offering some flashy features, like a panoramic roof on a lower trim level. It's less about the advanced safety tech and more about just giving you the most car for the least money.
That comparison really clarifies where the CS35 Plus sits. It's not the cheapest, not the sportiest, but it offers the most advanced safety and comfort tech for the price.
So to wrap this all up, the Changan CS35 Plus 2026 absolutely delivers on its promise of being a high-value vehicle. It gives you cutting-edge tech, especially in safety with things like ACC, at a price that forces everyone else to take notice.
But, and it's a big but, that value comes with a clear trade-off. You have to be willing to accept more road noise on the highway and a firmer ride, especially for anyone in the back. And you have to accept that small question mark over the DCT's long-term life in heavy traffic.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away. Changan is backing this car with a strong 5-year, 150,000-kilometer warranty. So does that sheer amount of advanced technology, getting adaptive cruise control and 6 airbags for around $22,000, justify taking that calculated risk on the comfort and the transmission?
And think about the rivals. Would you prioritize the Creta's bulletproof reliability, the Coolray's sporty performance, or the MG ZS's rock-bottom price over the incredible list of safety and tech features that the CS35 Plus is offering? It really forces you to redefine what value actually means in today's car market.
And